North Korea is a male-dominated society, but that doesn't mean women are excluded from the workforce. With women now earning more than 70% of the household income, it's safe to say they're bringing home the bacon. But traditional jobs that most of us are used to aren't always found in this fascinating country. We're about to expose some of the craziest jobs, like the woman who inspected each grain of rice before it was eaten by the country's former leader. Stay tuned to find out more. If this is your first time visiting our channel, don't forget to subscribe and please give this video a big thumbs up. Today we'll be showing you 10 weird jobs all women must do in North Korea. Traffic cop. Even though North Korea is a country that's mainly isolated from the rest of the world, that doesn't mean it's not equipped with some forms of modern technology. Only 2% of the roads are paved in the country, but the streets in the capital city have functioning streetlights for those who are privileged enough to own vehicles. The streetlights work properly, but that wasn't good enough for their leader, Kim Jong-un. The city now employs traffic security officers who were handpicked by him based on their looks alone. Women who are eligible for the position must be at least 16 years old, healthy, unmarried, stand at least 5'6" tall, and must be the most attractive women in the country. They can be seen directing traffic in their pristine army-style uniforms to greet the town's residents and tourists. Some call it one of the most prestigious jobs in the entire region, with only 300 lucky ladies working in the position. They've also become a sense of fashion inspiration to other North Korean women. In the summer, they wear short navy skirts with fashionable white blazers, and in the winter, they wear trendy fur earmuffs to go along with their uniforms. To many women, it's an honor to be chosen as a traffic cop, but that honor doesn't last for too long. Once they hit the age of 26, or when they decide to get married, they must quit and give up their position to the next young, attractive beauty. Farming. One of the most common misconceptions about North Korea is that the women are forced to stay in the house all day long, but that couldn't be any further from the truth. Women are expected to join the labor force outside of the home, just like men. They devote at least 8 hours each day to work, 8 hours to study the history of their leaders, and 8 hours to rest and sleep. Because of the country's labor shortage, they depend on all healthy women to help work on the farms to increase their production. And in many cases, they're the breadwinners for their entire family. Farm work is one of the most common jobs for people of the lower class. A person working on a collective farm has to surrender their harvest to the government, and for those who earn a monthly wage, their earnings are usually just $1 to $2 per month. So no matter how hard they work, they can never advance or get a raise. But that's not all. They're also expected to work every single day for 70 days straight. For those who want time off, they can purchase it from the government for 50 cents per day. But based on their meager salaries, it's safe to assume that not many North Korean women can even afford a vacation day. Teachers with a special skill. In most countries, teachers are required to have special schooling, credentials, and certifications in order to teach in a classroom. But in North Korea, they have one requirement in particular that you'll probably never believe. In order to become an educator, women must learn how to play the accordion. Yep, that's right. North Korea's leader imposed this rule many years ago, and it's reportedly still upheld to this day. Before a teacher can even step foot in a classroom, she must pass her accordion-playing test with flying colors. For a typical teacher, her day might start off a little like this. At 8 a.m., she greets the children as they file into the classroom. As soon as they're all situated in their assigned seats, the teacher will immediately bust out with her accordion to play some of the day's hottest jams. Okay, not really. Censorship laws are pretty strict in the country, especially when it comes to the type of music that's allowed to be played. One of the most popular songs teachers play is a tune called "We Have Nothing to Envy in the World." Reportedly, it has the same melody as the classic English lullaby "Twinkle Twinkle Little Star." So why did the government pick the accordion out of all the musical instruments in the world? Well, we're not so sure, but it's widely known as the people's instrument, so it must have some sort of sentimental value to the Kim family. There's nothing strange about being a teacher, but the accordion requirement is definitely a little wacky, don't you agree? Forced labor work. As if the salaries weren't low and horrible enough in North Korea, some people are forced to work for free. People who are convicted of crimes, including those who are caught trying to illegally leave the country, are usually forced into labor camps. And sometimes a prisoner's entire family is required to do time right along with them as a form of generational punishment. These camps are more harsh than regular prisons, and everyone inside is subjected to horrible living conditions. One of North Korea's most controversial laws strips camps inmates of their civil rights. This means any anything goes behind its walls. There are about 20 women stuffed into the very small and cramped cells. Every morning, each woman over the age of 17 is forced to wake up at 6:30 a.m., eat breakfast, pray, and head off to work until 8 p.m. at night. Some women work on the camp's farms for 6 days a week, while others are forced to do grueling work, like carrying rocks and shoveling coal all day long. After working long, hard days, they're only given a handful of corn to live off of. Since there's no medical aid available, many women are forced to work these draining jobs until their bodies can't take anymore. Oddly enough, the North Korean government denies these forced labor camps even exist, even though aerial photographs have shown that the camps are still being operated. The black market. Remember when we mentioned that most women make $1 to $2 per month while working on a North Korean farm? Well, this amount of money isn't enough for them to take care of their families, so some women have found alternative ways to make ends meet. In order to support their loved ones, they're not against breaking the rules and getting involved in some illegal activities to put food on the table. North Korea is filled with unofficial markets where women trade products that have been smuggled into the country from China. Items such as electronics and beauty products are openly traded at an increased price. The women were previously referred to as grasshoppers because they would pack up their merchandise and flee the area when they saw police approaching. The last thing they needed was to get busted by the cops and placed into a labor camp as a form of punishment. But these days, they're demanding the right to make a living by any means necessary, even if it means they have to break the law. Since women aren't forced to work government-controlled jobs like men, they found that selling these illegal goods in urban and rural marketplaces is the next best thing. Even though the government has attempted to get rid of these illegal markets, they continue to thrive and provide a source of much-needed income for many women in the country. Churchgoers. For those who are devoted to their religion, North Korea definitely isn't the place for them. Although the country claims it allows freedom of religion, they go out of their way to ban any religious holidays and churches. The country is so obsessed with keeping its people under their control, and they think organized religion will brainwash their citizens. So they cut off any and all access to spiritual services. Surprisingly, the capital city is home to a few churches, but they're not conducting the type of church services one would expect. Many people believe the churches put on fake services and sermons, and the seats are lined with women who are plucked from the city to pretend to be avid churchgoers. So, how would North Korea benefit from running fake churches? Well, they want to give the impression that the country is tolerant of religion. They also want to make it appear that they give their people the freedom to practice any religion of their choice, so the pastors and the women attending the services are all bogus. The churches in the capital city were reportedly built just to bring in donations from foreign visitors, including tourists from South Korea. Many outsiders have vowed to cut off funds to North Korean churches because the money isn't going to the church at all. It's all going right back into the greedy hands of the government. Pop star. Since the 1960s, all music that has been played throughout North Korea has been approved and produced by the government. Any outside music is strictly prohibited and is still considered illegal. With a leader who loves to have control over his people, it's no surprise that Kim Jong-un also controls the music they can enjoy during their free time too. But one thing the people of North Korea aren't lacking is a pop group. Sure, this girl band probably isn't going to give Fifth Harmony a run for their money, but North Korea's version of a pop group is pretty much the only lively entertainment the people have. And of course, the group was handpicked by the country's leader back in 2012. For any woman in the country, it's a real honor to be selected for the group. They get to be on stage and perform in front of their adoring fans. Each group member wears a military-inspired satin dress and plays a different musical instrument. As for their songs, they perform a rendition of the theme song from the Sylvester Stallone film Rocky. For a leader who reportedly can't stand the Western way of life, it's pretty surprising that Kim Jong-un's girl group is even allowed to play music from one of America's most iconic films. But believe it or not, the people of North Korea reportedly love their girl group. And who knows, they might even win a Grammy Award one day. Or not. Rice Inspector. Before Kim Jong-un came into leadership, the country was run by his father, Kim Jong-il. He had a very different way of running the country, and he was said to be much more strict and controlling. He was very particular about everything, from the way his citizens dressed to the type of food he ate. A former chef of the late leader gave some insight on just how picky Kim Jong-il really was. In his home, he had a group of people who all had very specific tasks, but one job in particular was probably the weirdest job of them all: rice, which was a common dish for the late leader. burger had to be prepared perfectly before he ate it. But before it could even start cooking on the stove, a woman from the kitchen staff was ordered to inspect each grain by hand. If this sounds like the most boring job in the world, you're not alone. We definitely agree with you. We can't even imagine having to sit and pick through rice each and every day. The woman would visually inspect the grains. Then she would look for chipped or defective grains and throw them away. Apparently, Kim Jong-un had a thing for perfect rice. We don't even want to know what happened if a chipped piece made its way onto his plate. Entertainers. Speaking of Kim Jong-il, perfect rice wasn't the only thing he was in love with. He also enjoyed being entertained by live performers. During his reign, he had a group of women who were chosen to provide him with entertainment whenever they were called upon. They were frequently summoned to a banquet hall in the capital city, and they would perform elegant dances for the ruler. The hall was said to be equipped with elaborate lights, a disco ball, and strobe lights. Sounds like a party to us. The floor was also all decked out with flashing lights, and there were floor-to-ceiling speakers that blasted out music for the women to get their groove onto. When Kim Jong-il passed away, his group of entertainers were released from their duties, but not before being sworn to secrecy. They had to promise they wouldn't reveal anything that went on during their jobs as the leader's entertainers. They were also given payoffs of $4,000 each, which is a lot of money to most North Koreans. But reports suggest Kim Jong-il's son and the country's new leader has decided to follow in his dad's footsteps and assemble his own group of entertainers. He allegedly sent his officials out to the countryside to find some of the nation's prettiest young women. Some were hired to dance, while others were hired on as singers. Before leaving their hometowns, the girls, some who were as young as 13 and 14, would tell their parents they were going away on a secret government mission. The parents had no choice but to let their daughters leave and hope that one day they would return home. Military. In 2015, North Korea imposed a strict rule that shocked the rest of the world. While most women are given the choice on whether or not they want to join their nation's military, North Korean women don't have that option at all. Any woman as young as 17 must serve in order to strengthen the country's armed forces, and they must remain enlisted until the age of 23. With the country's record of horrible human rights violations, it's no surprise that the military is far from being a safe haven for women soldiers. If some women think that serving will provide them with a better life, they found out the bitter truth as soon as they enlisted. A former member of the military revealed that she was only fed 3 spoonfuls of rice during mealtimes. She began to suffer from malnutrition, and at 5'2" tall, she weighed in at just 81 pounds. Although these women are giving their lives to protect their country, women still aren't respected in the military. In fact, they may be the first to perish if they're ever called upon to protect and to serve. When tension between North Korea and the US began to rise in 2017, Kim Jong-un was more than willing to send 500,000 of his female soldiers to the front line. As for their salaries, it's suspected that female soldiers receive a paycheck of a whopping 50 cents per month, hardly enough to take care of themselves or to send money home to their families. Thank you for watching this video. We hope you enjoyed it. React in the comment section below, and be sure to check out our friends at The Trendy to see more cool videos for teenagers.